Welcome to today's training Zoom, how to create a simple marketing plan in 7 steps. I'm Justine Gonshaw, Head of Marketing for magLabs. I've been in marketing for about 25 years, and I'm going to share with you some of the tips around thinking about a marketing plan and building a marketing plan, talking about why you need one and all things you need to consider when building one. So, what is a marketing plan? A marketing plan helps you to think through how you're going to take your products and or services to market, what your competitors look like, your business's strengths and weaknesses, and how you're going to know what you're doing is working. A marketing plan gives you activities, a structure in terms of what you're doing and what you're trying to achieve. It also helps you to have a clear time frame and a way of measuring your activity. Without a plan, everything just happens, and you tend to spend more time and usually more money without really understanding what you're trying to achieve. I've certainly seen that in action, and it just leads to frustration and probably a disconnect between marketing and management and what the business is really trying to achieve. A marketing plan should also be focused around the goals of your business. If your business doesn't have a clear 2 or 5 year plan, then you at least need to come up with some ideas of where it's going, whether that's in terms of product or service development or delivery or new customer acquisition, sales targets, team growth, and so on. It really needs to be specific to your business, the things that where you are now, where you want to get to, and the small steps you're going to take to get there, and how marketing can help you get there. If you aren't working with or at a management team, then you'll need some guidance on all of this. You just can't do it without understanding the business implications. And once you have a marketing plan in place, you and your team will have a clearer focus and you'll be able to plan the activities. And once you've got that plan of activities, you'll be able to get on and execute and actually show that you can contribute to the business and achieve some of those milestones. Some businesses have a very grand marketing plan or plans, and they spend months and months working on these, and they have the resources to do that, and that's absolutely fine. It works for them, it's right for them. They need to sort of dive into the detail of each little section, and it's probably the best way to do it. For a smaller business or for a startup, you need a more simple, fluid plan, because it's more important to be out in the market promoting yourselves than to be navel gazing and researching. And the time you're thinking about all those things, your business can actually go to the wall. It's also important to realize that you may need to change direction if some of your activities aren't delivering a return. And you really need to understand when to stop, rather than sort of thinking it's going to turn, and I'm going to turn this into a success. Okay, so what are the simple steps? Step 1, ensure you have a clear understanding of the business strategy plan or goals. If there isn't a plan in place, then encourage management to write one and share it with you. But you need to understand what your marketing efforts are helping to achieve. Sometimes just setting out some simple milestones for a business is enough so that marketing can help the business grow or move to that next milestone. I would say if management are really struggling with it, come up with some kind of questionnaire that can help frame their thoughts and their thinking, and then maybe together you can achieve a very simple business plan. It isn't for marketing to write the business plan, but it can sometimes guide the business in the right direction. And it's also important, I would say, to think about what the sales team are doing. Every business has a sales team in one form or another. Because marketing and sales are really most effective when they're joined up and working together. There have been so many occasions I can think about when sales are spending a lot of money on a certain area, marketing is spending a lot of money on a completely different strategy. And actually by pooling the money and working together, they could have achieved so much more. And where they have worked together, it has been far more effective. Step 2, understand your customers and prospects. It seems really, really obvious, but so many businesses just don't understand who they're trying to target And then everything is such a broad brush approach. It's scattergun. You're just hoping that you're going to attract the right people. That just isn't the right way. So for example, if you're an architectural business, your clients are likely to be construction companies, property developers, and or individuals who want their houses redesigning or designed, or they want their property extended. And they might need planning permission to go with that. And they're going to need some guidance and support from the expert. And in that case, the architect would be the expert. So from that broad group, that pool of customers or prospects I've just talked about, you'd need to think about the type of people who would pay your fees. So if you're high end, you're most likely to want to work with building companies because they can afford, a big building company could afford your fees. If you're middle end, you might want a mix of 2 or 3. And if you're low end, you probably want to go to the people who need help with designs and with planning permission, because that would suit your sort of range of products and services. So just something to think about. Who is it you're targeting? Who's going to be able to afford your services? And what does that customer look like? Try and build a profile of that customer. Step 3, identify your competitors and work out how you can differentiate your business. How many businesses work in your area, your sphere, and do they offer similar products and services? And how are they priced? You know, if you're doing the same as a bunch of others, but you're a lot more expensive, you're going to have to work a lot harder to win business. If you're able to differentiate yourself, then people are more likely to come to you, even if you're slightly more expensive. So when thinking about competitors, how do they promote themselves? Look at their websites, do some searches, even a Google search on key people in the business and their brand name, of course, and see the sort of activities they get involved in. It may give you ideas of what you want to do. It may also give you ideas of what you don't want to do. So really, really think about it. Do a little bit of research. It doesn't have to be days and days, but just enough to give you some insight. Remember, it is better to be different. If you look and feel no different to competitors, as I said before, then honestly, why is someone going to come to you? You know, it's putting a barrier up that you really don't need. You really don't need, especially when you're trying to get out there in the marketplace and drum up business. Step 4, and this is one of the trickiest ones, I would say. What budget do you have to spend? What is the business going to give you or allow you to spend on marketing? And then you need to find out which activities are going to give you the best return. For the majority of businesses, particularly small businesses and startups, you know, marketing can be quite tricky. You don't know how much you need to spend, but you know you need to spend. So the best thing to do is, if you're in that business, work out what you actually have. And if you're not in management, talk to management and work out what budget you might have. Generally, businesses of all sizes will say to you, well, bring your proposals to me and give me a business case, and then we'll work out what we're going to allow you to spend. Not ideal, but you'll find that you often have to do that. Wherever possible, do try and work out what a monthly or a quarterly spend might look like, and then you can really plan ahead. Another thing to think about when you're considering budget is look at each tactical activity, and a tactical activity is the things you're actually going to do. So for example, an advert, how much is that advert going to cost you? And what do you think it's going to give you in return? How many customers or prospects is it going to bring you? So really think about that. Step 5. So this is the fun part, I think. It's the most fun apart from the actual doing. Compiling a list of activities. So this is essentially your wish list. What are the things that you think are going to work and help your business to carry forward? So it could be publicity, so editorial, could be advertising that you're thinking about doing, and where would you place your adverts? You need to think that through. Social media campaigns, and again, you need to think about the channels, the vehicles that you're going to use, digital marketing campaigns, events, live or online, website development. Is your website good? Do you need a website? Do you need a set of websites? Do you need some microsites? client portals, if you're big enough to have the engagement with your clients and you want to have private and secure communication with them and share documents and things with them. Thought leadership documents, partnerships, co-branding, speaking at conferences, influencer marketing, testimonials, case studies, conferences, product tours and launches, and investor presentations. And this is just some of the things, some of the activities that you might want to think about. Clearly, you're not going to do all of these. You need to consider the ones that are going to be relevant for you and that are going to give you the biggest payback, the biggest return on investment. So when you're thinking about these, you need to think about the ones that A, you can do, B, that you can afford to do, or you think you can afford to do, and you might need to cost a low, medium, and high. And do you have the skill set? Do you have the skill set in-house? And do you have the budget to bring other people on board to help you? But this is quite a fun activity. And it's also your wish list that you're going to probably present. So you probably want to prioritize that list of activities into things you think are A, achievable within budget, B, that you'd like to if you had the budget, and C, what you'll do next time round potentially. And having done your competitor analysis, you'll have an idea of what other people are doing, and you'll be able to guess and guide sort of what works for them. I believe you can have a look and you can see what works for a particular brand, especially if you've got some experience. And if you haven't, you can always look online and you can see which campaigns for which brands have worked well. There's lots of different analysis online. Moving on to step 6. You've taken all your different lists now, and then you're going to turn them into a simple set of achievable activities. And these are the ones that are going to form your marketing plans, that the ones that you're going to present. So you might have a list of the absolutely must-haves, and then you'll have a few that you want to do, and then a few that would be nice to do at the end, which I've already spoken about in step 5. So in step 6, what activities are likely to be the best return for your business? What are they going to cost you is the first thing you need to think about. Really scope these out. Think about how long they'll take to put in place. There's always a lead time for an event, for a webinar, for editorial, for an advert. There's stuff you need to do before that actual activity goes live and starts to give you a return or generates interest. And what are the results? And results, or KPIs as they're often called, are also tricky to manage, but you need to think about what they are. And we'll talk about those next. As a startup, you need to think about what's going to get your brand out there, what's going to give you a sort of pow and hit the market so that people, because you need to generate more interest. As a brand that's building, you then need to think about how you're going to reinforce the brand and get it out to more people or different sets of people. So different things, different activities for a different stage of business. And for a larger business, a global business, you might be thinking about new products and services. You might be thinking about launching a specific new event. You might be talking about thought leadership, launching some thought leadership, and there might be a whole series of events around that. But again, it's the same thing. What's going to give you best value for money? Because everyone's always got an eye on marketing. Everyone's always got an eye on the budget. So you need to think about what's achievable, how many other people need to be involved, whether you need other skill sets, whether you can do it yourself, and what's the likely end result. And as much as you plan, you may still need to change tack and adapt your event or adapt the portal or the advert or the social media campaign or the digital marketing campaign as you're part of the way through, because it's not quite delivering the results. Marketing is fluid, it's always changing. There's new tech, there's new ways of doing things, and as it moves on, we need to move on with it. Okay, so step 7, as I've mentioned a few times, we need to measure. Showing results, showing success is really important. It's a way to get more budget. It's a way to prove that you actually did what you said you were going to do. And it's also useful when you're going forward and thinking about doing the same event again, or whether you're doing another event and you want to think about what worked in that previous campaign and what didn't. So for every single activity or sub-activity, you need to have some success measures in place. Now, events, activities are all measured in different ways. Let's think about an event. You might measure the sort of people you get there, they're at the right level, they're the buyers, and they come along. You've started these are new buyers, new people, and you're starting a conversation, you're starting a relationship with them. So you want to track that relationship from that very first event. You got them there through marketing. You want to keep hold of that relationship, and you want to track it all the way to when they buy and then rebuy and then rebuy, because that's showing that you had success in marketing, and then you're able to hold them as a customer within the business. So very, very important. For a LinkedIn advert, though, it wouldn't be the same. You'd be thinking about how many clicks to the website, whether there was any engagement, did they ask questions, were there comments. On some social media channels, it's clicks, it's likes. There's all different ways. Likes aren't always something you want to measure, because are they actually achieving anything? It depends what you're trying to achieve. If you understand what you're trying to achieve, you can put the correct KPIs or success measures in place. Whatever it is, think about it, test it, get feedback. For all these things, always test as you're compiling your activities. If there is a team, ask the team what they think. If there's a wider business, if there's product managers, get involved with them. Talk to them, think about what they think. They might come up with some great ideas. They might knock your ideas. They might get you thinking in a different way. And all that is very, very useful. Working in isolation is not a good way, it's not a positive thing for a marketer, I believe. If you are working in isolation, talk to a peer, someone you know in another company, obviously not a competitor, and they might be able to help you. They might be able to guide your thinking or reinforce your thinking. You're not always going to be right. Usually marketing is about common sense. It's about gut instinct. In spite of all the data you need around it, you have an idea of what's going to work and what isn't. Use the data to reinforce that, and use the data to help you pin up your successes and get more budget going forward. Okay, and remember, really, really important to remember, only commit to a plan that you're comfortable delivering. If management are pushing you to do something that's outside your skill set, then you will need to get support, and you will need to buy in expertise, because otherwise you're putting yourself at risk of completing a campaign that just is doomed to success. We can learn new techniques, we can learn how to use new technology. Sometimes you need some guidance on how to deliver campaigns that aren't within your skill set. Of course, if you don't have a team, that's never more important. There's no point in having an ambitious plan if it's unachievable. It's a lose-lose situation, and we're looking for win-wins where you're going to help the business on, prove your worth, and then go on to do bigger and better things. And then finally, obviously, if you need to get started, you want to get started, start measuring from the offset. And it could be that campaigns take a little while to get going. So don't say, oh, this has failed on day one. It might take a week to get going. But in week 4, if you're running a whole series of ads, for example, and there's absolutely no traction, you're not getting any feedback, you're not getting any clicks to the website, whatever your success measure is, think about changing it. Think about adapting it. And if you really feel it's not working within an agreed period, then dump it and start again. Don't be afraid. We've been talking to a number of big brands recently, and the number one thing that they said was that their agency frustrates them, because when things don't work, they don't want to change tack, they don't want to adapt. So always be willing to adapt. Be brave. It's a brave world out there, and marketeers need to think on their feet. So thank you very much for listening to the training Zoom today. We have had a few questions come in advance, so I'm going to answer those, And then I am available on justine.gonshaw@maglabs.net if you want to have a quick chat, or if you want to send me your other questions. More than happy to give you feedback on any marketing plans or anything like that as well. Okay, question one that's come in is, what's the most important thing to focus on when you're putting a marketing plan together? And I think, as I've said before, the most important thing is to have a good mix of activities. Clearly activities that you can deliver, but a good mix, so that you're not just doing one thing and hoping. So don't just focus on Instagram, for example. You might be a startup who's selling on Shopify, for example, and you're only using Instagram because that's how your business got off the ground. That created your initial sales. I would say that's brilliant, well done, but actually think about what other things you can do to help push your business to the next level. They don't have to be necessarily very expensive, but they will definitely help you to build a broader set of prospects and get in sort of new interest from a different sphere. Instagram, however great it is probably only going to appeal to a certain part of the population. Question two I've had in is, how much should you spend on marketing? And this sort of is, how much is a piece of string, really. I mean, experts say that you should spend between 2 and 5% of your revenue on marketing. Now, clearly, if you're a startup, you don't necessarily have any revenue, but you have to spend on marketing. So you're going to have a little pot to help you get started, and it will depend on sort of what's in the pot. And you have to be realistic, but you also have to spend a little to get started. If you're an SME, you really should look at 2%. Many businesses aren't prepared to put 2% in, but build a business case for your activities. Show they work, and then you'll be able to do more. And it's like building blocks, that the more you're able to put in place and prove, the more you'll get, and you'll get more and more. But it's all linked to milestones and business growth. If you're not selling and the business isn't growing, the budget is just simply isn't going to be there, and you're not going to get the 2 to 5%. And larger businesses, as I said, you could have a reasonable marketing plan. You have a huge marketing plan based around millions of pounds, and even for those plans, you're going to need business case proposals. You're going to need to show the return and to show the value. And it might well be on the 2 to 5%, but usually it's a little bit lower. The big FMCG brands have the big budgets, and but even they too need to show results. And so measure. Okay, and then the last question I've had in is, well, actually there's two in one. Should I get advice? Can you afford advice? I would say. I mean, yes, it's always great to get advice. It's always great to get the experts involved. If you can't afford advice, look online. There is a lot of material online. A lot of it isn't as full of jargon as it used to be. So if you're a bit stuck, look online. Maybe speak to a consultant and get some initial ideas if they're willing to share before you're actually on board as a client. Some will do a starter consultant session with you. And the last question that sort of isn't linked to this one is, marketing agencies are really expensive. Should I get involved with a marketing agency? So first of all, marketing agencies don't have to be really expensive. They can be, but they don't have to be. And maybe you use a marketing agency to get some specific skills from them and some specific advice and guidance. And then you go DIY and you do the rest yourself. So that might be one option. But the other side of it is, if you run a campaign with a marketing agency and it works really, really well, then surely it makes sense to keep working with them, because they've given you that return on investment and it's proven. But it will all depend on your business circumstances. Okay, so thanks very much. If you do need any advice, please do reach out. I'm more than happy to help. We're here to help. magLabs is both a digital marketing agency and also a digital tech firm that supports marketing and creative individuals and teams. So reach out to us, let us know if you've got any questions. Many thanks.